Supreme Commander Thelvax stood on the bridge of his massive warship, the Crimson Dawn. He looked at the blue planet on his screens with cold, calculating eyes. Earth, another primitive world that would soon belong to the Valorian Empire. He had conquered 43 planets in his career. This would be number 40-4. His second officer approached with a datapad. The analysis of Earth's defenses was complete. Thelvax read through it quickly and allowed himself a thin smile. These humans had some space stations, a few satellites, and what appeared to be basic fusion technology. They were at least 300 years behind Valorian military standards. This would not even qualify as a battle. It would be a harvest. How many ships did we bring? Thelvax asked. 200 warships, Commander. Our entire 7th Fleet. Thelvax nodded. It was excessive for such a weak target, but the Empire believed in overwhelming force. These humans would see the Armada in their skies and know immediately that resistance was futile. Most primitive species surrendered without firing a single shot. Those who didn't were simply eliminated. The fleet moved deeper into the solar system. They passed the orbit of Mars without encountering any resistance. Thelvax had expected at least some defensive perimeter, but there was nothing. The humans apparently didn't even have early warning systems this far out. He shook his head in disappointment. Meanwhile, on Earth, alarms were screaming in every military command center across the planet. Admiral Quan Mino stood in the Pacific Command bunker, watching 200 red dots appear on the holographic display. His jaw was tight, but his hands were steady. He had trained for this moment his entire life. Every admiral, every general, every soldier on Earth had trained for this. "Get me the president," Minho said calmly. Within minutes, President Park Ji-soo was on the secure line. She was in the Global Defense Council chamber, surrounded by leaders from every nation on Earth. The room was tense but organized. They had drilled for this scenario 1,000 times. "Admiral, what are we looking at?" President Park asked. 200 hostile vessels, Madam President. Capital ship class. They're moving toward Earth orbit. Based on their trajectory, they'll be in broadcasting range within 30 minutes. President Park took a deep breath. 30 minutes. Humanity had prepared for 80 years for this moment. Ever since a damaged alien probe had crashed in the Pacific Ocean in 1945, humanity had known the truth. They were not alone. And the universe was not friendly. The probe had contained enough technology to give Earth scientists a roadmap. They learned how far behind they were. They learned what kind of weapons existed among the stars. And they learned that Earth needed to catch up fast and do it in secret. Every nation had contributed. Resources, scientists, engineers, soldiers. Hidden bases were built on the dark side of the moon, inside hollowed asteroids, beneath the Antarctic ice, and in the deepest ocean trenches. Shipyards that no satellite could detect. Weapons that no enemy would expect. For 80 years, humanity had built, tested, and prepared in absolute secrecy. Now the moment had arrived. "Contact Dr. Shin at Blacksite Command," President Park ordered. "Tell her to activate Protocol Nightfall. Then get me a line to every military commander on and off planet." In the lunar base called Omega, hidden in a crater on the moon's far side, Colonel Choi Hana received her activation codes. She had been stationed here for 7 years, waiting, training. Her crew of 2,000 personnel moved to their stations without a word. Every screen came alive. Every weapon system powered up. Every ship in the hidden lunar hangars began their launch sequences. The Valorian fleet reached Earth orbit. Thelvax looked down at the planet with satisfaction. Billions of primitive beings who would soon serve the Empire. He activated the broadcast system, sending his message to every communication device on the planet. "People of Earth, I am Supreme Commander Thelvax of the Valorian Empire. Your world is now under Imperial jurisdiction. You will surrender all military assets immediately. You will submit to Imperial authority. You will comply with all demands. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your civilization. You have 30 minutes to respond with your unconditional surrender. The transmission ended. Thelvax settled back into his command chair, confident that he would receive Earth's surrender within minutes. No primitive world had ever held out longer than 15 minutes when faced with the 7th Fleet dot in the Global Defense Council. President Park stood before the cameras. Her message would be broadcast to the Valorian fleet and to every human on Earth. Commander Thelvax, you have made a grave miscalculation. You assumed we were unprepared. You assumed we were weak. You assumed wrong. This is your only warning. Leave our system immediately, or face the consequences. Thelvax heard the transmission and laughed. Actually laughed. His bridge crew joined him. The audacity of these primitives, threatening the 7th Fleet. It was almost charming in its foolishness. Target their major cities, Thelvax ordered. Prepare to demonstrate what happens to species who refuse the Empire's mercy. His weapons officer began targeting sequences. But then something strange happened. Alarms began sounding across the Valorian ships. Sensors were detecting energy signatures. Lots of them. Commander, we have multiple contacts. The sensor officer shouted. They're appearing all around us. Thelvax jumped to his feet. On the main display, red warning indicators were multiplying rapidly. Ships were decloaking throughout the solar system. Human ships. Hundreds of them dot from the moon. 200 warships emerged from hidden bays. From the asteroid belt, another 100 appeared. From Earth's oceans, massive vessels rose through the water and climbed toward space. From orbital positions around Earth, ships that had been camouflaged as satellites revealed their true nature. Captain Li Taiyang sat in the command chair of the EDS, Soul's Fury, one of Earth's most advanced destroyers. His ship had been hiding behind the moon for 3 days, waiting. Now his orders had come through. He looked at his crew. Young faces. Brave faces. Ready faces. All ships, Li transmitted to the human fleet. This is Soul's Fury. Weapons hot. Target lock acquired. On Admiral Minho's mark, we fire. Thelvax stared at his screens in disbelief. The sensor readings were impossible. These ships were not primitive. They were reading as advanced as Valorian vessels. Some were reading even more advanced. His fleet was outnumbered more than 2 to 1. How? He whispered. How is this possible? Admiral Minho's voice came through on all Valorian communication channels. His tone was cold and clear. You wanted a response, Commander. Here it is. This is your final chance. Surrender now, or we will destroy every ship you brought to our home. Thelvax felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear. But he was a supreme commander of the Valorian Empire. He had his pride. He had his duty. All ships, he commanded. Battle formation. Prepare to engage. We are the 7th Fleet. We do not surrender to primitives. The Valorian ships moved into attack positions. The human fleet did the same. For a moment, space was absolutely silent. Then Admiral Minho gave the order that would change galactic history forever. All human vessels. Fire. The first salvo from Earth's fleet lit up space like a second sun. Hundreds of railgun rounds tore through the darkness at incredible speeds. Plasma lances, blue and brilliant, lanced out from Earth's destroyers. Missile pods released their payloads, thousands of smart warheads that locked onto Valorian ships and adjusted their flight paths. Mid-journey. The Valorians had been confident. That confidence died in the first 10 seconds. Captain Li Taiyang watched his tactical display as souls. Fury and her sister ships opened fire. Their target was a Valorian cruiser that had been moving to bomb Earth's surface. The cruiser's shields flared bright blue as they tried to absorb the incoming fire. They held for almost 3 seconds. Then they collapsed completely. 12 railgun rounds, each weighing 5 tons and moving at .03 light speed, punched through the cruiser's armor like it was paper. The ship broke apart in a series of internal explosions. Debris scattered into space. One down. Target destroyed, Lee's weapons officer reported. Acquiring next target. Make it count, Lee said. And somebody get me a damage report on the fleet. Across the battle space, similar scenes played out. The Valorians had expected easy prey. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that was faster, more accurate, and far more aggressive than anything in their experience. Colonel Choi Hana directed the lunar fleet from her command, centered deep inside the moon. Her screens showed the entire battlefield. She could see patterns the individual ship captains couldn't. She could coordinate attacks across hundreds of vessels simultaneously. Strike Wing 7. Break left and support Wing 3. They're taking heavy fire. Strike Wing 12. You have 3 Valorian destroyers trying to flank us from the north position. Intercept and engage. Her orders were relayed instantly through quantum communication systems. Human ships moved with precision, supporting each other, covering weak points, exploiting openings in Valorian formations. The Valorians fought back hard. Their weapons were powerful. When they hit, they hurt. The destroyer Bison's Pride took a direct hit from a Valorian plasma cannon and lost half her crew in an instant. The frigate Tokyo Defender was cut in half by enemy fire. Human blood was being spilled. But for every human ship damaged, 5 Valorian ships died. General Yoon Dae-yeon activated the planetary defense grid from his post in Arctic Command. Hidden all over Earth were thousands of weapons platforms. They had been disguised as communication towers, weather stations, office buildings. Now they revealed their true purpose. Massive railgun turrets emerged from underground silos. Laser batteries rose from the ocean floor on hydraulic pillars. Missile installations that had been labeled as research. Facilities opened their roofs and aimed at the sky. Any Valorian ship that tried to approach Earth itself met a wall of fire so intense that their shields couldn't handle it. 3 Valorian frigates made the attempt. Their debris rained down into Earth's atmosphere, burning up before reaching the ground. On the Crimson Dawn, Thelvax watched his fleet die. His tactical officer was shouting numbers that didn't make sense. 30 ships destroyed. 45, 60. The count kept rising. How are they doing this? He screamed. They're primitives. They should have fusion bombs and chemical rockets, not quantum drives and plasma weapons. Nobody on his bridge had an answer. They were too busy trying to stay alive. The truth was something that no one outside Earth's military and government knew. When that alien probe crashed in 1945, it had changed everything. The device was damaged, but functional enough to study. Earth's brightest scientists had spent years taking it apart, learning from it, understanding it. They learned about quantum entanglement communication, about plasma containment, about shield harmonics and artificial gravity. Most importantly, they learned about something called a galactic community. Earth was not alone. And based on the probe's database, most species in the galaxy were either conquerors or victims. The world's leaders met in secret. They made a decision. Earth would not be a victim. But Earth was too far behind to win an open confrontation. So they would prepare in secret. Every nation would contribute. Politics and old rivalries would be set aside. The entire species would work toward one goal. Survival. It took 50 years just to build the first functional quantum drive. another 20 to develop plasma weapons that wouldn't explode when fired, 10 more to create shield technology. But humanity learned. Humanity adapted. And humanity built an entire military infrastructure in absolute secrecy. The bases on the dark side of the moon. The automated factories inside hollowed asteroids. The research facilities beneath Antarctic ice where Dr. Shin, Hygiene, had spent 15 years developing weapons that could crack alien armor. The shipyards at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean where engineer Kim Sun-ho had designed humanity's warships. Every military on Earth was actually two militaries. The public one, with jets and tanks and traditional warships. And the secret one, with spacecraft and energy weapons and artificial intelligence targeting systems. Lieutenant Han Yuna piloted her fighter, Wraith 7, through a debris field at speeds that would kill most pilots. She was chasing a Valorian bomber that was trying to escape. Her fighter was small, fast, and packed with weapons that seemed impossible for its size. She got a lock, fired. Her plasma torpedo tracked the enemy ship perfectly and detonated against its engines. The bomber went dark and began drifting. Wraith 7 to Fleet Command. Target neutralized. Moving to intercept the next group. Negative. Wraith 7? Came the response. Return to carrier for rearm. You've expended your full loadout. Good shooting. Yuna grinned inside her helmet. 12 kills in one sortie. Not bad for her first real combat mission. The battle continued for 2 more hours. It was brutal. It was bloody. But the outcome was never in doubt after the first 30 minutes. The humans had surprise. They had numbers. They had technology the Valorians didn't expect. And they had something else. They were fighting for their home. Commander Bae Jung-ho led a squadron of human cruisers in what he called the Hammer and Anvil maneuver. Half his ships jumped ahead using micro-jump technology, appearing in front of a Valorian battle group. The other half came from behind. The Valorians were trapped. All ships concentrated fire on the flagship. Burn through their shields and don't stop until there's nothing left. The Valorian flagship was a massive dreadnought. But under concentrated fire from 16 human cruisers, its shields failed in under a minute. Its armor held for another 30 seconds. Then it broke apart, spilling atmosphere and bodies into space. Thelvax knew he had lost. More than half his fleet was destroyed. The survivors were scattered and demoralized. He had one choice left. All ships, begin retreat procedures. We're leaving the system. But Admiral Minho had anticipated this. Human ships were already in position along every escape route. Thelvax's S-Fleet was surrounded. Valorian Fleet, this is Admiral Quan Minho of Earth Defense Forces. You attempted to conquer our world. You threatened our people. You brought war to our home. Now you have 2 options. Surrender immediately or die in the void. You have 60 seconds to decide. Thelvax looked at his bridge crew. Young officers who had believed they were invincible. Who had believed the Empire could not be defeated. Their faces showed shock and fear. He had been a warrior for 40 years. He knew when a battle was lost. This is Supreme Commander Thelvax. We surrender. Power down all weapons. Drop shields. Await boarding parties. Across the Valorian fleet, ships went dark. The battle was over. Medical Officer C.O. Nari worked frantically in the infirmary of the carrier Inchin Rising. The wounded kept coming. Burned flesh. Explosive decompression injuries. Radiation poisoning. She and her team worked for hours, saving everyone they could. They lost 47 people that day. 47 humans who died defending Earth. But they had one dot in the Global Defense Council. President Park Ji-soo allowed herself one moment of relief. Then she got back to work. Send recovery teams for our wounded. Take the Valorian survivors prisoner, and someone contact our deep space monitoring stations. If this fleet came from an empire, there might be more. She was right to worry. 2 star systems away, automated probes recorded everything. The battle, the human victory, the impossible technology. Those probes sent their data across the galaxy at faster than light speeds. Within hours, 1,000 worlds would know what happened. The Valorian 7th Fleet, one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, had been destroyed by a species no one had heard of. Earth had just announced itself to the galaxy, and the announcement was written and fired out. The prisoner transfer took 6 hours. Human Marines boarded every surviving Valorian ship and secured them. The aliens were processed, identified, and moved to holding facilities on the lunar base. Thelvax himself was brought aboard the Soul's Fury under heavy guard. Captain Li Taiyang watched as the former Supreme Commander was escorted onto his bridge. The alien was tall, maybe 7 feet, with gray skin and forearms. He looked exhausted and defeated. Good. Put him in interrogation room 3, Li ordered. And get intelligence officer. Up here. I want to know everything this creature knows. 2 days after the battle, the full scope of what had happened began to sink in. Earth had won. Not just survived, but won completely. Of the 200 Valorian ships that had come to conquer Earth, only 23 survived intact. Another 16 were too damaged to repair. The rest were debris. Earth's losses were comparatively light. 12 ships destroyed, 26 damaged, 417 personnel killed, another 600 wounded. Every death hurt. Every name was recorded, but they had defended their home. News spread across Earth like wildfire. The secret was out now. Everyone knew about the hidden fleet, the secret bases, the 80 years of preparation. Some people were angry that they'd been lied to. Most were just grateful to be alive. Ambassador Jung Minji prepared for the most important assignment of her career. She had been Earth's secret representative to the Galactic Council for 5 years, working under deep cover. Now she was going to address that council openly for the first time. The Galactic Council met on a neutral station called Concordia, located in a star system that belonged to no one. Representatives from 200 civilizations gathered there to discuss trade, treaties, and conflicts. Earth had been observed for decades, but never invited to join. Primitive species weren't allowed. That was about to change. Jung arrived at Concordia 3 days after the battle. Her shuttle was escorted by 6 human fighters, a not-so-subtle reminder that Earth could defend itself now. The council chamber was enormous, a circular room with seats for hundreds of delegates. When Jung entered, every representative turned to look at her. The human who had destroyed the Valorian 7th Fleet. She walked calmly to Earth's newly assigned seat and stood before the assembly. Members of the Galactic Council, I am Ambassador Jung Minji of Earth. I come before you today to formally announce humanity's presence in the galactic community. We seek peaceful relations with all civilizations. We seek trade, knowledge, and friendship. But let me be clear. We will not be conquered. We will not be enslaved. And we will not allow any force to threaten our home or our people. The chamber was silent. Then one representative began a slow clap, then another. Within seconds, half the council was applauding. The other half looked worried. The Valorian representative, a different alien since Thelvax was now a prisoner, stood up with fury in his eyes. The Empire demands the immediate release of our personnel and ships. This act of aggression will not stand. Jung turned to face him. Her voice was calm but cold. Your fleet came to our system uninvited. Your commander threatened to destroy our cities. You fired first. We responded. You lost. Your personnel will be returned when the Empire agrees to a peace treaty. Until then, they are prisoners of war. Back on Earth, Intelligence Officer O Yunji sat across from Felvex in the interrogation room. She had been questioning him for hours, and the information he provided was deeply troubling. "Tell me about the Empire's military structure," she said. Felvax was tired of lying. He had no loyalty left to an empire that would discard him for losing. The Empire has 40 fleets. The 7th fleet was mid-size. There are larger fleets. Much larger. How large? The 1st fleet has 2,000 warships. The 2nd fleet has 1,500. The Empire controls 847 star systems. Billions of soldiers. Thousands of species serve the Empire, either as allies or slaves. O made notes. "And you believe the Empire will respond to their defeat?" Felvax laughed bitterly. "They already have. The moment my distress signal was sent, the Empire began assembling a response force. They will send enough ships to crack your planet in half. Not to conquer you. To make an example of you." O felt a chill. "How long until they arrive?" 3 weeks. Maybe 4 if they take time to gather more ships. But they will come. And when they do, everything you've built will burn. O left the interrogation room and immediately contacted President Park. An emergency session of the Global Defense Council was called within the hour. President Park stood before the council with the weight of the world on her shoulders. "We have confirmation that a second Valorian force is en route. Intelligence estimates between 1,500 and 2,000 warships. They will arrive in approximately 3 weeks." The room erupted. Voices shouted over each other. Fear and panic spread quickly. "Silence!" Admiral Minho's voice cut through the chaos. "We knew this was a possibility. We planned for it. Now we execute those plans." Dr. Shin Hai-jin stepped forward. She looked tired but determined. "The weapon is ready. Project Helios is fully operational. We can deploy it within 2 weeks." General Yoon added, "Lunar production facilities are operating at maximum capacity. We can build 300 more ships before the enemy arrives. Our existing fleet is already being repaired and upgraded." Engineer Kim Sun-ho, who had designed most of Earth's warships, pulled up holographic displays. "I've been analyzing the Valorian technology from captured ships. Their shields operate on a different frequency than we expected. I can modify our weapons to exploit that weakness. It will triple our effective firepower." President Park listened to each report. Then she made her decision. "We fight, not just to defend ourselves, but to send a message. Earth will not be bullied. Admiral Minho, you have full authority to prepare our forces. Dr. Shin, prioritize the Helios array. Kim, get those weapon modifications distributed to every ship. We have 3 weeks to prepare for the biggest battle in human history." The preparations began immediately. Every shipyard worked around the clock. Factories that had been building civilian goods switched to military production. Volunteers signed up by the millions to serve in the defense forces. Captain Lee was promoted to fleet commander. His performance in the first battle had been exceptional, and he understood combat in ways most officers didn't. He would command the forward battle group when the Valorians returned. Lieutenant Han Yuna trained new fighter pilots. Hundreds of young men and women who wanted to protect their home. She taught them everything she knew. How to fly fast. How to shoot straight. How to survive. Commander Bay prepared tactical plans. He studied every recording of the first battle, looking for mistakes and opportunities. He developed new formations and strategies. The Valorians would come prepared this time. Humanity had to be more prepared. Colonel Choi expanded the lunar bases. More hangars were carved out of rock. More weapons platforms were installed. The moon would be Earth's first line of defense. Medical Officer SEO organized hospital ships and medical teams. She knew the next battle would be worse. More casualties. More death. She could only save those who reached her alive dot in orbit around the sun. Hidden behind carefully positioned shields, Project Helios took shape. It was enormous. Thousands of focusing mirrors, each 1 kilometer wide, all designed to concentrate solar radiation into a single devastating beam. The weapon could only fire once before overheating, but that one shot would be powerful enough to destroy anything in its path. Dr. Shin supervised the final installation personally. This weapon represented humanity's best chance. It also represented their desperation. 3 weeks passed in a blur of activity. Earth transformed from a hidden defensive power into an open military force. The secret was completely out now. Humanity's true capabilities were visible to anyone with a telescope. And then, on the morning of day 22, the sensors detected them. The Valorian response fleet had arrived at the edge of the solar system. The count made everyone's blood run cold. 2,317 warships, the largest military force ever assembled in this region of the galaxy. They came for one purpose: to destroy Earth and make sure no other primitive species ever dared to resist the Empire again. Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of Earth's new flagship, the Ed's Terra's stand. Around him, the entire human fleet waited. 843 warships. Every ship humanity could build, repair, or salvage. Against more than twice their number. All ships, Minho transmitted across the fleet. This is it. Everything we've built. Everything we've fought for. Everything we are. They came to take it from us. Show them why that was a mistake. The Valorian fleet began moving toward Earth, slowly, confidently. They thought they had already won. They were about to learn differently. High Admiral Krelthon commanded the Valorian response fleet from his super dreadnought, the Imperial Judgment. The ship was 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons, and had enough firepower to level a continent. He had brought it specifically to break Earth's spirit. Krelthon was not like Thelvax. He did not underestimate his enemy. The reports from the first battle had been clear. These humans were dangerous. But he had numbers, experience, and the full might of the Valorian Empire behind him. That would be enough. Begin the advance, he ordered. All ships maintain formation. Shields at maximum. Weapons ready. When we reach Earth orbit, we will demonstrate what happens to species who resist the Empire. The fleet moved forward like a wave of metal and death. They expected resistance at the solar system's edge. They expected human ships to attack early. Instead, they found nothing. Empty space. No defenders. They're hiding, Krelthon's tactical officer said, waiting for us to get closer. Let them wait, Krelthon replied. We have time, and we have the numbers to win regardless of their strategy. On Terra's stand, Admiral Minho watched the Valorian advance with calculating eyes. He was not hiding. He was positioning. Every human ship was exactly where it needed to be, hidden in the shadow of planets, asteroids, and orbital debris. The Valorians would see them soon enough. Status on Helios? Minho asked. Charging sequence complete, came the reply from the weapons control station. All focusing mirrors aligned. We can fire on your command, Admiral. Minho nodded. Project Helios was humanity's trump card, but it could only fire once. Timing would be everything. He watched the Valorian fleet approach, calculating distances and angles in his mind. Fleet Commander Li Taiyang commanded the forward battle group from Sol's Fury. His ships were positioned behind Jupiter's moons, invisible to Valorian sensors. He had 60 warships under his command, including some of Earth's newest and deadliest vessels. "Hold position," he ordered quietly. "Wait for the signal." Across the solar system, similar scenes played out. Commander Bay and his cruiser squadron hid in the asteroid belt. Colonel Choi's lunar fleet waited in the moon's shadow. Lieutenant Han Yuna and her fighter wing were tucked inside a carrier. Engines cold, waiting. President Park watched everything from the command bunker in Geneva. She sat with her senior advisors, including Dr. Shin and Engineer Kim. The holographic display showed both fleets in real time. The weight of billions of lives rested on the decisions made in the next few hours. "The Valorians are approaching Mars orbit," an aide reported. "They'll reach our outer defense perimeter in 10 minutes. Park looked at the display. Soon, very soon, the Valorian fleet crossed into the inner solar system. They passed Mars without incident. Ahead of them lay Earth, blue and beautiful and undefended. Krelthon allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This would be easier than he thought. Then alarms started screaming. Human ships appeared everywhere at once. From behind Mars, a fleet of destroyers emerged. From the asteroid belt, cruisers and battleships dropped their camouflage. From Earth's orbit, hundreds of vessels that had been pretending to be debris suddenly powered up and locked weapons dock, but the real surprise came from the moon. Colonel Choi's entire fleet, 300 ships strong, peered from behind the lunar surface and accelerated toward the Valorian formation at incredible speed. "Contact! Multiple contacts!" The Valorian sensor officer shouted. "Enemy ships on all vectors." Krelthon's eyes widened. The humans had lured him into a trap. His fleet was surrounded. All ships, defensive formation. Return fire. But the humans were already firing. Fleet Commander Lee led the first strike. His forward group hit the Valorian right flank with everything they had. Railguns sent tungsten rounds through Valorian shields. Plasma lances burned through armor. Quantum torpedoes, courtesy of Dr. Shin's latest work, phased through shields entirely and detonated inside enemy ships. The Valorian right flank crumpled under the assault. 20 ships destroyed in the first minute. 40. Commander Bay attacked from the left. His cruisers used the same microjump technology that had worked so well in the first battle. They appeared, fired, and jumped again before the Valorians could target them effectively. It was like fighting ghosts. Colonel Choi's lunar fleet drove straight into the Valorian center. Her ships were smaller but faster. They wove between enemy vessels, targeting engines and weapon systems, disabling ships rather than destroying them, forcing the Valorians to divert resources to rescue operations. High Admiral Krelthon watched his formation break apart. He had expected a battle. This was an execution. These humans fought with a coordination and aggression that seemed impossible. Every ship knew exactly where to be. Every attack was perfectly timed. "Focus fire on their flagship," he ordered. "Take down their command ship, and they'll fall apart." 50 Valorian warships turned their weapons on Terra's stand. Admiral Mino saw them coming. Evasive maneuvers. All defensive batteries, fire at will. And somebody get me Fleet Commander Lee. Terra's stand was big, but it moved like a fighter. The ship dodged and weaved through incoming fire, while its defensive weapons shot down missiles and deflected energy blasts. The ship shook from impacts. Shields fluctuated, but they held. Lee's voice came through. "Admiral, we see them targeting you. We're moving to intercept." "Negative, Commander. Stick to the plan. I need you to keep pushing their right flank. Make them split their forces." "Understood, Admiral." Good hunting. The battle raged for 3 hours. It was the most intense combat in human history. Ships on both sides were dying. The space around Earth was filled with debris and wreckage and the frozen bodies of dead sailors. Lieutenant Han Yuna led her fighter wing in a desperate mission. A group of Valorian bombers was trying to break through to Earth. Her job was to stop them. All wings, engage at will. Do not let them through. Her squadron of 40 fighters met a Valorian bomber group 3 times their size. The dogfight was brutal. Fighters twisted and turned through space at impossible speeds. Plasma fire and missiles crossed in every direction. Yuna shot down 3 bombers herself. Her wingmate, a pilot named Kang Min-seo, destroyed 4 more. But they were taking losses. A fighter called Falcon 9 was hit and exploded. Dragon 3 took critical damage and had to retreat. Stay tight. Yuna transmitted. Cover each other. We only need to hold them for a few more minutes. She didn't know why a few more minutes mattered, but she trusted her commanders. Admiral Minnow watched the tactical display. The Valorian fleet was fully committed now. They were all inside the trap. Every ship was exactly where he needed them to be. Dr. Shin, he said calmly. Fire Helios. In orbit around the sun, Project Helios activated. Thousands of massive mirrors adjusted their angles simultaneously. They began focusing the sun's radiation into a single point. The energy built rapidly. The temperature rose to millions of degrees. Then the weapon fired. A beam of concentrated solar energy, wider than Earth's moon, lanced across the solar system at the speed of light. It crossed millions of kilometers in seconds. The Valorian fleet didn't even see it coming. The beam hit the center of the Valorian, formation like the hammer of an angry god. Ships didn't explode. They simply vaporized. Armor, shields, hulls, everything turned to superheated plasma in an instant. The beam cut through the Valorian fleet for 5 seconds. 5 seconds of continuous solar fire. When it ended, 400 Valorian ships had ceased to exist. Just gone. Erased from existence. The entire battlefield went silent. Human and Valorian alike stopped firing, stunned by what they had just witnessed. Krelfin stared at his screens in horror. He had just lost nearly 1/5 of his fleet in 5 seconds. The humans had built a weapon that weaponized a star. What kind of species does this? He whispered. Admiral Minnow answered his question with a fleet-wide transmission. The kind that fights for their home. Valorian fleet, you have one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Or we will fire again. It was a bluff. Helios needed hours to recharge. But Krelfin didn't know that. The High Admiral looked at what remained of his fleet. He had lost over 600 ships. The humans were still fighting with nearly full strength. His officers looked to him for orders. Young warriors who believed in the Empire. But Krelfin was old. He had seen 50 battles. He knew when one was lost. This is High Admiral Krelfin to all Valorian ships. Stand down. Power down all weapons. We surrender. Across the fleet, Valorian ships went dark. The battle was over. President Park allowed herself to breathe. They had won. Against impossible odds, humanity had won again. Medical Officer CO and her teams worked for days treating the wounded. Earth had lost 97 ships in the second battle. Over 2,000 personnel dead. Another 4,000 wounded. Every loss was felt across the entire planet. But they had survived. Earth had faced the full might of an interstellar empire and emerged. Victorious. News of the battle spread across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. The recordings showed everything. The human trap, the coordination, the devastating weapon, and the surrender of the Valorian fleet. 20-3 civilizations that had been enslaved by the Valorian Empire declared their independence within hours of seeing the recordings. If humans could defeat the Empire, maybe they could too. Ambassador Young sent a message to the Galactic Council. Earth extends an offer of friendship and alliance to all free peoples of the galaxy. We will not conquer. We will not enslave. But we will defend ourselves and those who cannot defend themselves. This is our promise. The prisoner processing took 2 weeks. Over 40,000 Valorian military personnel were now held in facilities across Earth's solar system. High Admiral Krelvin was kept in a special containment unit on the lunar base, where Intelligence Officer O. Yunji questioned him daily. The High Admiral was more cooperative than Thelvax had been. He understood that the Empire had made a catastrophic miscalculation. More importantly, he understood that the political situation in the Empire was about to become very complicated. The Emperor will not accept these defeats, Krelvin explained. But the Senate is divided. Many senators never supported the aggressive expansion policy. They will use this failure to push for peace negotiations. The military commanders will want revenge. It will become a civil war of politics. O made notes. And what do you think will happen? I think the Empire will sue for peace, Krelvin said quietly. Because if they don't, you will destroy them. And everyone in the Empire knows it now. He was right. Within 3 days of the second battle, the Valorian Empire sent an official communication to Earth. They requested a ceasefire and formal peace negotiations. They offered to recognize Earth as a sovereign power and to withdraw from all human-claimed territories. President Park read the message with her cabinet. It was a complete reversal of the Empire's previous position. They were suing for peace because they were afraid. We accept, Park decided, but we dictate the terms. Ambassador Jung, you'll handle the negotiations. Make sure the terms include reparations for our losses and guarantees of safety for any species that declares independence from the Empire. The peace conference was held on Concordia Station neutral ground. Ambassador Jung represented Earth. A Valorian senator named Thaurin represented the Empire. Representatives from 200 other civilizations attended as observers. The negotiations took 3 weeks. The Valorians tried to save face. Jung was firm but fair. The final treaty included complete recognition of Earth's sovereignty, reparations paid in technology and resources, and a mutual non-aggression pact. Most importantly, the Empire agreed not to interfere with any species that declared independence. Within hours of the treaty signing, 37 civilizations declared their freedom from Valorian rule. The Empire that had controlled nearly 1,000 star systems for centuries suddenly found itself reduced by half. Back on Earth, life was changing rapidly. The secret was completely out now. Humanity's hidden military, the decades of preparation, everything was public knowledge. The revelation caused social upheaval, but also a strange sense of unity. Humanity had been united in secret for 80 years. Now that unity could be open, Admiral Mingho was promoted to Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces. His face became famous across the galaxy. The human who had defeated the Valorian Empire twice, Fleet Commander Li Taiyang, took command of Earth's First Fleet, a new formation of 300 ships tasked with protecting Earth's immediate space. He was young for such a position, only 42, but his tactical brilliance was undeniable. Colonel Choi, Hana was promoted to general and given command of all off-world military installations. The lunar bases, the asteroid facilities, everything. She became responsible for maintaining humanity's defensive perimeter. Lieutenant Han Yuna became a hero. Her squadron had stopped the Valorian bombers from reaching Earth. She received the Solar Cross, Earth's highest military honor. She was promoted to captain and given command of the 1st Fighter Wing. Commander Bei Junho was promoted to admiral and tasked with developing new tactics and strategies. His work during both battles had been instrumental in human victory. Dr. Shin Hai-jin continued her research, but now with cooperation from dozens of alien species. Technology that would have taken humanity centuries to develop alone was being shared freely by civilizations grateful for. Earth's stand against the Empire. Engineer Kim Sun-ho led the design of Earth's next generation of warships. Bigger, faster, more powerful than anything currently in service. Humanity was not preparing for the last war. They were preparing for whatever came next. Medical Officer C.O. Nari was promoted to Chief Medical Officer and given the task of organizing Earth's military medical services. She also began working with alien doctors, learning new techniques and sharing human medical knowledge. Intelligence Officer O. Yunji became the director of the newly formed Galactic Intelligence Division. Her job was to monitor the galaxy for threats to Earth and Earth's allies. President Park Ji-soo addressed the United Nations 6 months after the Second Battle. The entire world watched. For 80 years, we prepared in secret. We built ships in hidden shipyards. We trained soldiers in bases no one knew existed. We developed technology that we told no one about. We did this because we knew the truth. The galaxy is not a safe place. There are empires out there that see other species as resources to be exploited. We could not allow that to happen to humanity. Today, we stand as a free and independent species. We have defended our home against an empire that controlled 1,000 worlds. We have made allies among the stars. We have shown the galaxy that humanity will not be conquered. But we must remain vigilant. There are other threats out there, other empires, other dangers. So we will continue to build. We will continue to prepare. And we will continue to defend not just ourselves, but all those who seek freedom. Humanity has joined the galactic community not as victims, but as equals. We offer friendship to all peaceful civilizations. We offer protection to those who cannot protect themselves. But to those who would threaten us or our allies, we offer only this warning: we are humanity. We survived for millions of years on a world that tried to kill us. We built civilizations from nothing. We reached for the stars with primitive rockets and determination. And now we have weapons that can weaponize stars themselves. Do not mistake our desire for peace as weakness. Do not mistake our diplomacy as fear. We are kind because we choose to be. But we can be something else if we must. The speech was broadcast across the galaxy. It was translated into 300 languages. And it changed humanity's reputation forever. Earth became a major power in the galactic community almost overnight. The Galactic Council offered humanity a permanent seat. Jung accepted, but with conditions. Earth would not join any military alliances. Earth would not participate in territorial disputes. Earth would focus on defense and mutual prosperity. Trade agreements followed. Human technology, especially in artificial intelligence and quantum computing, was highly valued. Alien technology in genetics and energy production was equally welcome on Earth. Both sides benefited enormously. Cultural exchange programs began. Humans traveled to alien worlds. Aliens visited Earth. The first galactic embassy opened in Geneva. Within a year, 20 species had representatives on Earth. But military readiness remained paramount. Admiral Mino expanded Earth Defense Forces to 2,000 ships. New bases were established on Mars, in the Kuiper Belt, and in orbit around Jupiter. Defensive satellites armed with railguns surrounded Earth in 3 orbital shells. The planetary defense grid was upgraded with new weapons designed with alien technology. If anyone ever attacked Earth again, they would face a defensive system that could destroy entire fleets before they got within 1,000,000 kilometers of the planet. Project Helios was rebuilt and improved. The new version could fire 3 times before needing to recharge. 2 more Helios arrays were constructed at different positions around the Sun. Earth now had 3 superweapons that could fire concentrated solar energy across the solar system. Fighter wings were expanded. Captain Yuna trained thousands of new pilots. The fighter corps became the pride of Earth's military. Young men and women who could fly faster and fight harder than any other species in the Mo. Galaxy. Research continued. Dr. Shin's team developed new weapons every year. Plasma torpedoes that could penetrate any known shield. Quantum mines that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Graviton beams that could tear ships apart on a molecular level. Engineer Kim's shipyards produced new vessels constantly. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, carriers. Each generation more advanced than the last. Earth's first fleet became legendary across the galaxy. They were never defeated in combat, never retreated, never surrendered. 5 years after the Valorian War, as it came to be called, Earth's position in the galaxy was secure. Humanity had gone from unknown primitives to respected power, from victims in waiting to defenders of freedom. The Valorian Empire continued to exist, but greatly diminished. They signed trade agreements with Earth. They sent ambassadors. They never forgot the lesson humanity had taught them. Other empires took notice. The Krethian Confederacy, the Andarian Collective, the Sovereign Worlds Alliance, all sent diplomatic missions to Earth. All wanted to understand how a species so young could be so advanced, how a civilization so new to the stars could defeat one so old. The answer was always the same. Humanity had prepared. Humanity had unity. Humanity had refused to be victims. In a darkened observation room on a distant space station, representatives from 6 different civilizations watched recordings of the Battle of Earth. They had watched these recordings hundreds of times. They never stopped being impressed. How did they advance so quickly? One asked. The question they all wondered. Perhaps they didn't, another responded. Perhaps they've been ready all along, watching, waiting, preparing. The humans call themselves the Quiet Watchers, a third added. For 80 years, they prepared for first contact. While other species explore and expand, humans fortified their home. While others build empires, humans built defenses. They were never primitive. They were never weak. They just let everyone think they were. And now the galaxy knows. Humanity is not a species to be conquered. They are not a species to be trifled with. They defend what is theirs with a ferocity that makes warriors of 100 worlds hesitate. They weaponized their own star. They turned their solar system into a fortress. And they did it all while the galaxy assumed they were harmless. The room fell silent. Then one of them spoke the thought they all shared. The galaxy is a safer place with humanity in it. But I would not want to be their enemy. On Earth, children played in parks. Artists created beautiful works. Scientists pursued knowledge. Ordinary life continued. But above them, in the darkness of space, 2,000 warships patrolled. Silent guardians of a planet that had proven it would never surrender. Admiral Minho stood on the observation deck of Terra's stand, looking down at Earth, blue and beautiful and free. He thought about all the lives lost defending it, all the sacrifices made, all the years of secret preparation. Was it worth it? His aide asked. Minho smiled. Look at it. Our home. Our world. Still free. Still ours. Yes, it was worth it. And we'll do it again if we must. In the distance, the sun shone brightly. Around it, hidden in its glare, Project Helios waited. Ready, always ready. Humanity had entered the galaxy not with exploration, but with war. Not with curiosity, but with violence. It was not the introduction they had wanted, but it was the introduction they had needed, because now the galaxy knew. Earth was home to a species that would fight for every inch of their world, that would turn their own star into a weapon, that would never, ever surrender. And that knowledge changed everything.